Good morning. Mode ani lefanecha, melech chai v'kayam, shehechazarta bi nishmati behemla, Rabba emunatecha, mode ani lefanecha, melech chai v'kayam, shehechazarta bi nishmati behemla, Rabba emunatecha. And as with every service in the morning, we wear a talit. If it is your custom to wear a talit, join with me in the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tivanu l'hit'atef b'tzitzit. We rise for the Baruch Hu. There it is. Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai. Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed. Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. You may be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavecha uvechol nafshecha uvechol me'odecha ve'hayu hadevarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom Alevavecha, Vishinantam levanecha, V'dibarta bam, B'shivtecha b'veitecha, Uvlechtecha v'derech, Uv'shochtecha, Uv'kumecha, Ukshartam leot al yadecha, V'hayu letotafot, Ben enecha, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. And I hope you were paying attention to the Hebrew, because now we're going to do the same thing in English. This is for anybody who needs a repeat or anybody who didn't get to see it last night. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand and let them serve as a symbol between your eyes. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai, your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai, your God. Adonai Elohechem emet. Yai lai lai la lai la lai lai la lai lai. Yai lai lai la lai la lai lai lai. Ya lai 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 lai, ya lai 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 lai, ya lai lai lai, ya lai 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 lai. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osei fele, nora tehilot osei fele. שירה חדשה שיבחו גאולים, לשמך על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו, והמליכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. יאי לי 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 לי, יאי לי 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 לי, יאי לי 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 לי, יאי לי 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 לי, יאי לי 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 לי. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. יאי לי 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 לי, יאי לי 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 לי. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Please, come back. It rose too far. There it is. Come on back down. Adonai sefatai tifach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai sefatai tifach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Velohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Velohei Leah, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואמהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה, רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, תומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש בשמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. על הניסים ועל הפולחן ועל הגבורות ועל התשועות ועל המלחמות שעשית לאבותינו ואמותינו בימים ההם בזמן הזה. In the days of Mordecai and Esther, the wicked Haman arose in Persia, plotting destruction of all the Jews. He planned to destroy them in a single day, the 13th of Adar, and to permit the plunder of their possessions. But through your great mercy, his plan was thwarted, his scheme frustrated. We therefore thank you and bless you, O great and gracious God. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levadecha b'yirah na'avod. We continue in silent prayer. When you're ready, you may be seated. Osei shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, immeru, amen. Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'yemeru, Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al mikra Megillah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, sha'asa nisim lavoteinu bayamim hahem bazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. This is not our Megillah is here. I'm not going to read the whole thing in Hebrew. We're going to try something a little bit different. This is a slightly abridged version of the Megillah. In fact, this is the Megillah of Zelensky and Putin, with credit to Reb Deb Gordon. This happened in the days of Ahasuerus, who sat on his royal throne in Shushan, the fortress, and ruled an empire stretching from India to Ethiopia, plus all the NATO countries. In the third year of his reign, he threw a massive "I'm tired of this pandemic" party for all his advisors, the big donors, bureaucrats, and oligarchs. He would have done it sooner, but travel restrictions made him postpone it until vaccinations were widely available. For 180 days, the king had an open house to show off his riches and glory. Entry required masks and proof of vaccination and was by appointment only, but it was a once-in-a-lifetime chance, so people came anyway. To cap it all off, he hosted a 7-day party in his palace and invited every man living in Shushan to the fortress. Queen Vashti made a party for the women in her own wing of the palace. They used rapid testing. On the 7th day of the party, when the king was buzzed, he commanded his personal servants, "Bring in Queen Vashti, wearing her royal crown and no mask. I want all the men here to see how beautiful she is." Well, Vashti said, "Are you kidding me? Show up without a mask in the middle of a bunch of drunk guests? I know how bad mask compliance is at the king's party." Well, naturally, the king was furious. He called a meeting of all the experts on Persian law and influencers who understood the times. They told him, "We've got to take this seriously. When women hear that the queen refused to do what you commanded, they will ignore all of their husbands. So send Vashti into exile and choose a new queen to replace her. When the news gets around, wives throughout your empire and all the NATO countries will treat their husbands with respect." And so they made that a law, which went about as well as you'd expect. Well, there was a Jewish man in Shushan named Mordechai Zelensky. And when Persia captured Babylonia and made a treaty with NATO, it came to pass that many Jews lived in Persia. Later, when King Ahasuerus finally calmed down, he missed Vashti. So he said, "Let's search for the most beautiful young woman in the kingdom and throughout NATO and bring them into the women's house for Shushan." So all the young women had a year of celebrity makeovers and beauty treatments before the king saw them. Everybody loved Esther, whose uncle was none other than Mordechai Zelensky. She got the brand name products and the most reliable Wi-Fi in the harem. Esther and Mordechai Zelensky texted each other every day and FaceTimed at least once a week. During that whole time, Esther followed Mordechai Zelensky's instructions and stayed in the closet about being Jewish. Each young woman got only one chance to audition for the king. First, she needed 2 negative tests 3 days apart, and then she went to the king's palace in the evening. When the king saw Esther, he crowned her queen in place of Vashti and gave her a pro Zoom account with the password to the palace's high-speed internet. Now pay attention. This next part is important. One day, when the internet was down, Mordechai Zelensky was sitting at the palace gate where he knew he could get more bars on his phone. He heard 2 officers plotting to kill the king. Well, when Esther showed up, Mordechai told her about it, and Esther immediately told the king. The officers were captured and executed. All of the details were filed away in the official palace Google Docs. After all this happened, King Ahasuerus promoted Haman Putin to prime minister. It's supposed to be a picture that goes along with that, but we're not going to mess with what's working. Everyone must bow down to Haman Putin. Well, most people complied, but Mordecai Zelensky said, bowing is out of the question. Jews don't bow down to tyrants. This villain in Shushan was just the latest in a long line of people who irrationally hate Jews. Well, maybe nothing would have happened if Mordecai Zelensky had stayed home and been content to Zoom with Esther. But that was against his principles. He had to show up in person and refuse to bow. Well, Haman Putin was furious because Mordecai Zelensky, the Jew, was the only person who refused to bow down to him. He decided to take revenge on all the Jews of the kingdom. Was this anti-Semitism? You betcha. So Haman Putin held a lottery, or in Persian, that's Purim, to choose the day and month for killing all of the Jews. The 13th day of the month of Adar was pulled out of a hat, and Haman Putin went to talk to the king. There's a certain group of people, he said, scattered through the kingdom. They're different from everyone else. They have their own secret language, and they are neo-Nazis. Plus, they secretly control the media, and I heard they have a space laser. If you agree with me, upload an encrypted decree, and they shall all be destroyed. By the way, I'll reimburse the royal treasury from my own mega yacht. Well, foolishly, there were no questions from the king, and he revealed his secret password to Haman Putin, the enemy of all the Jews. Well, Facebook was bombarded with posts for old people and TikTok for the young. Hackers and Zoom bombers and Twitter bots encouraged everyone to arm themselves and get ready to riot against the Jews, to loot their homes and kill them all. The king and Haman Putin sat down to drink, but the city of Shushan was full of panic and confusion. When Mordecai Zelensky heard about what was happening, he cast off his suit and tie and put on a green burlap t-shirt of mourning. It was hard to believe that this could be happening. He thought they were past this. Jews were totally comfortable in Persia. Even the queen was Jewish. Well, just maybe the queen could help. However, you can't enter the palace of a Persian king disheveled and dressed in just a burlap green t-shirt. So Mordecai Zelensky arranged for a Zoom call with Esther. He said, you may not have heard, but there's been an official decree that Haman Putin will kill all the Jews on the 13th of Adar. You've got to go to the king and beg him to change his mind. Well, then Mordecai Zelensky shared his screen and showed Esther a copy of the decree. I can't do it, she said. Everyone knows that if you enter the throne room of the king without an invitation, you'll die unless the king transfers an NFT to you. And I don't even know what that is. Do you imagine for 1 second, Mordecai Zelensky said, that you will escape just because you're queen? Who knows? Maybe you became queen precisely for this emergency. Well, Esther said, I hear you. Gather all the Jews in Shushan, and we will fast for 3 days and nights. After that, I will visit the king without being invited. And if I perish, I perish. 3 days later, Esther faced the open door of the throne room, dressed in her royal robes. When the king saw her, his heart melted, and he transferred to her an NFT, whatever that is. What troubles you, my queen? What do you need? Up to half my empire you shall have it. All I want is for you and Haman Putin to come to a cocktail party. Everything is set up for you. The king sent his servants to bring Haman Putin and to attend Esther's party. As the king was drinking his wine, he said, what troubles you, my queen? What do you need? Up to half my empire you shall have it. She replied, all I want is for you and Haman Putin to come to another cocktail party, and this time with margaritas. That very night, the king couldn't sleep. He ordered one of his servants to download the official historical records and start reading. He hoped that would put him to sleep. While they were reading, he heard the story about Mordecai Zelensky discovering the assassination plot. And how did we reward Mordechai Zelensky for saving my life? Actually, we didn't do anything. Well, the king cried out, is anyone around, even though it's 2 a.m.? Well, Haman Putin had just arrived, so he could be first in line to see the king the next morning and ask for permission to release a toxic nerve agent into Mordechai Zelensky's house. The servant told the king, Haman Putin is here in the palace. The king said, bring him in immediately. When Haman Putin entered, the king said to him, theoretical question, what shall be done for a person whom I deserve to honor? And Haman Putin thought to himself, well, who would the king desire to honor more than me? So Haman Putin replied, I almost missed that one. The person whom the king desires to honor, bring a royal robe in which the king has worn, and a horse which the king has ridden, and place a royal crown on their head, shirts optional. Tell one of your nobles to dress the person whom the king desires to honor, and then lead them on your own horse through Shushan, proclaiming, see what is done for this person whom the king desires to honor. Then the king said to Haman Putin, hurry, take the royal robes and the horse, as you said, and do this for Mordechai Zelensky, the Jew who sits at the king's gate, trying to get a better signal on his phone. Do not leave out a single detail of everything you've mentioned. So Haman Putin took the robe and the horse and dressed Mordechai Zelensky and led him through the streets of the city, calling before him, see what is done for the person for whom the king desires to honor. When Haman Putin told this story to his wife Zeresh and all of his friends, they told him everyone knows that Jews rule the world and control the government and the media, and he stood no chance against them. Well, at that very moment, the palace servants arrived to bring Haman Putin to Queen Esther's cocktail party. What troubles you, my queen? What do you need? Up to half my empire you shall have it, said the king. Well, she replied, there is an evil dictator who wants to kill all of the Jews, and I am Jewish. I like the sound effect. The king said, who is this evil schemer and where is he? There sits our enemy, the wicked Haman Putin. He even prepared a vial of toxic nerve agent to kill Mordechai Zelensky, the man who saved the king's life. The king replied, hoist him on his own petard. So they disposed of Haman Putin, using the poison he had prepared for Mordechai Zelensky, and the king finally calmed down. That very day, King Achashverosh gave Haman Putin all of his property to Esther the queen. Mordechai Zelensky appeared before the king, and Esther explained that they were cousins. The king transferred all of Haman Putin's Bitcoin, all of his Bitcoin wallet to Mordechai Zelensky and Esther, and gave Mordechai Zelensky the password for the Palace Zoom admin account. But there was still a problem. Oh, my king, Haman Putin has flooded the internet with propaganda and fake news about neo-Nazis. His followers are still out to get us. How can I stand to see my people destroyed? Well, the king replied, I authorize you and Mordechai Zelensky to issue whatever orders you think are best about the Jews. Encrypt your decree with my secret password and upload it in my name. For any decree uploaded in the king's name and encrypted by the king's secret password enters the blockchain and cannot be repealed. So Mordechai Zelensky uploaded an order in the name of King Achashverosh, encrypted it with the king's secret password, allowing the Jews to band together and defend themselves, to destroy anyone who might attack them, and the city of Shushan celebrated joyfully. The Jews had light and happiness and joy and honor. They all declared a holiday. Throughout the empire, the Jews stood together to attack anyone who attacked them. Mordechai Zelensky recorded these events and uploaded an announcement to all the Jews near and far, telling them to celebrate the 14th of Adar as a holiday every year. For on that day, Jews were saved from their enemies, sorrow was changed to joy, mourning to happiness, and it would be a day of feasting and joy, of sending gifts to each other, mishloach manot, and giving gifts to the poor, matanot le'evyonim. King Ahasuerus celebrated the end of this mess by raising taxes both on the mainland and in the islands. If you don't believe me, read it for yourself on Sefaria. Mordechai Zelensky, the Jew, was second in power only to King Ahasuerus, respected by Jews and popular with most of his countrymen. I mean, hey, nobody's got a 100% approval rating. From then on, he constantly worked for the good of his people and shalom for their children and grandchildren for all time. The end. Let me go back to that one. Hold on. Just for good measure. Okay. We enter the concluding portion of our service, beginning with Aleinu. Please rise. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב עיקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובהי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני מלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. You may be seated. There are stars up above so far away that we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we love. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. At this time, we remember all those who have died in recent days, including Reuben Zamora Sr. and Rachel Maves, for whom we are in a period of Shiva. We also remember all those who have died in the past year, including Arturo Mendoza, Oscar Tauber, Jack Wernick, Jose A. Almorza, Dr. Jose A. Mejeres, Michael Ginsberg, Shirley Tepper, Rachel Peña, Lillian Thomas, Jose Luis Trujillo Jimenez, Vicente Navarro, Michael Kratowski, Larry Allen Wayner, Stuart Klein, Juanita Schraber Kaufman, Michelle Bernstein, and Erwin Hahn. If you are in a period of mourning, please rise and remain standing at this time as you share the name of the person you are remembering. You may also post their name in the chat or speak their name aloud or in your heart, and God will hear. If it is your custom to stand with those who mourn, you may rise at this time. Yitgadal vayitkadash shemei Rabba, be'alama divara chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imeru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevarach le'alam ul'almei almaya, yitbarach vayishtabach vayitpa'ar vayitromam vayitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudisha berichu. Le'ayla min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbehata v'nehemata, da'amiran be'alama v'imeru amen. Yehei shlama Rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imeru amen. Olsei shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imeru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all the world, to which we say, Amen. You may be seated. Our closing song for this service, appropriately enough, is Chag Purim. Chag Purim, Chag Purim, Chag Gadol LaYeladim, Masechot, Rashanim, Shirim, Verekudim. Havana Risha, Rash, 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 Havana Risha, Rash, 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 Havana Risha, Rash, 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 Barashanim. Purim Day, it's a happy holiday. We make noise with our toys, sing and dance and play. Let's hear the groggers rush, rush, rush. Let's hear the groggers rush, rush, rush. Let's hear the groggers rush, rush, rush. When we say, Amen. Chag Sameach. Enjoy your Purim and the rest of your day. I think we have some available. If you took a, not a mask, but a mask, you're welcome to keep it. You groggers, if you took one, you can return on the table, and we'll see you for Shabbat. Chag Sameach.